You're 3 days into sheltering in place. The air outside is thick with smoke from wildfires that won't quit. Inside, your sealed room is starting to smell like sweat, mildew, and something worse you can't quite identify. Every breath feels heavy, your head is pounding, your throat burns, and you realize something most people never consider until it's already too late. You can stockpile food for months, you can store water for weeks, but air, you need it right now, and if it's contaminated, you've got minutes before serious problems start. Whether it's a chemical spill upwind, a house fire filling your shelter with smoke, a basement that's turned into a toxic mold factory, or just the reality of being sealed in an enclosed space for days on end, bad air will take you out faster than hunger or thirst ever could. Today I'm teaching you how to build a DIY charcoal air filter using materials you probably already have or can scavenge in any survival situation. This isn't complicated, this isn't expensive, and it works when you need it most. Let's get into it. Here's the hard truth. You can survive 3 weeks without food, 3 days without water, 3 minutes without air. And if that air is poisoned, you're looking at even less time. Most preppers focus on the obvious threats. They stockpile ammunition, they store freeze-dried meals, they have water filtration systems. But air gets ignored because it's invisible. It's everywhere until suddenly it isn't, or until what's everywhere is slowly killing you. Post-disaster environments are brutal on air quality. Structure fires create toxic fumes that linger for days. Flooding brings mold and rot that turn breathable air into a respiratory nightmare. Industrial accidents release chemicals that make your eyes burn and your lungs seize up. Even something as simple as poor ventilation in a sealed bug-out location can lead to carbon dioxide buildup that clouds your thinking and shuts down your body. The ability to clean your air, even partially, can mean the difference between holding your position and being forced into a worse situation outside. Before we dive into the build, let me point you toward something that'll strengthen your entire preparedness foundation. In the description below, you'll find a link to download our illustrated survival ebook featuring the Gamma Roach character. This isn't just random tips thrown together. It's a comprehensive guide covering skills, tactics, and the mindset you need when everything goes sideways. Think of it as your offline reference library. When the grid goes down and you can't pull up YouTube, that knowledge is still right there with you. It's designed to complement everything we teach on this channel and expand your capability across multiple survival domains. And while you're checking that out, take a look at the channel merch available through the same link. Beyond just supporting what we do here, it's about carrying the mindset with you. It's about connecting with a community that takes preparedness seriously. Every piece is built around that same survival-first mentality. Now let's get back to making sure you can actually breathe when it matters. A charcoal air filter is a layered system that forces contaminated air through activated charcoal to remove particles, neutralize odors, and filter out many chemical compounds. The reason this works comes down to the structure of charcoal itself. When wood is burned in a loxygen environment, it creates carbon that's incredibly porous on a microscopic level. We're talking about a surface area that's massive relative to its size. Activated charcoal takes this even further through additional processing that increases those pores and makes the surface even more reactive. When contaminated air passes through charcoal, particles and chemical molecules stick to that porous surface through a process called adsorption. That's adsorption with a D, not absorption with a B. The difference matters. Absorption means something soaks into a material. Adsorption means it sticks to the surface. Those microscopic pores trap volatile organic compounds, smoke particles, odors, and many toxic chemicals. They don't pass through, they get caught and held. This is why charcoal has been used for centuries in everything from water purification to treating poisonings. It's not magic, it's just extremely effective surface chemistry. And in a survival context, it's something you can build with scavenged materials and basic knowledge. Let's talk materials. And here's where this gets beautifully simple. First, you need activated charcoal. Ideally, you've prepared ahead and purchased some from an aquarium supply store, a survival retailer, or even certain pharmacies. It's cheap, and it stores forever. But if you're already in a survival situation and don't have commercial activated charcoal, you can make your own. Burn hardwood in a loxygen fire until it's completely charred, then crush it into small pieces. It won't be as effective as commercial activated charcoal, but it'll still filter significantly better than nothing. Second, you need a container. A plastic water bottle works perfectly. So does a section of PVC pipe, a metal can, a sturdy cardboard tube, or even a plastic food container with holes punched in it. The container just needs to allow air to flow through in one direction while holding your filtration layers in place. You're creating a pathway for air to travel through multiple stages of filtration. Third, you need cloth or fabric for pre-filtering and post-filtering. Old t-shirts, rags, bandanas, dish towels, even coffee filters if you have them. You want material that's breathable but dense enough to catch particles. This keeps your charcoal layer from escaping and adds another stage of filtration. Optionally, sand or small gravel adds another filtration layer and helps with larger particles. And finally, you need something to secure it all. Duct tape, rubber bands, string, wire, zip ties. Whatever you've got on hand, here's how you put this together. I'm going to walk through this as if you're listening and visualizing the process, so pay attention to the order of layers. If you're using a plastic bottle, cut the bottom off cleanly. You're going to build layers from the mouth of the bottle upward toward where the bottom was cut off. If you're using a pipe or can, make sure you have one open end and one end with small holes punched through it for airflow. Start with your first cloth layer. Take a piece of fabric and stuff it loosely into the narrow end of your container. If it's a bottle, that's the mouth end. You want this snug enough that it stays in place but loose enough that air can still flow through. This is your pre-filter. It catches the biggest particles before they reach your charcoal and extends the life of your filter. Next, if you're using sand or gravel, pour in a layer about 1 to 2 inches thick. Tap the container gently to settle it evenly. This additional layer catches medium-sized particles and helps distribute airflow evenly across the charcoal layer that's coming next. It's optional, but it improves performance. Now for the main event. Pour in your activated charcoal. You want to fill the container about halfway to 2/3 full with charcoal. This creates a thick bed that air has to pass through, giving the absorption process time to work. Don't pack it down hard or you'll restrict airflow. Don't leave it too loose or it'll shift around and create channels where air bypasses the filtration. Aim for a firm but breathable layer that stays in place when you tilt the container. After the charcoal, add another layer of sand or gravel if you used it before, same thickness as before. Then finish with your final cloth layer. This post-filter keeps charcoal dust from escaping out the exit end and adds one more stage of particle filtration. Finally, secure everything. If you're using a bottle, you can tape the cut bottom piece back on loosely, leaving gaps for air to enter. Or leave it open and just make sure your layers are secure. If you're using a pipe, secure fabric on both ends with rubber bands or string. The goal is that air enters one end, travels through cloth, optional sand, charcoal, optional sand and cloth again before exiting the other end. Now that you've built it, let's talk about actual use. This filter works passively if you position it where air is naturally flowing. Place it near a vent, a crack in a window, or a doorway where you're getting cross breeze. The intake endpoints toward the source of contaminated air. The exit endpoints toward your clean zone. Air naturally flows through the filter and comes out cleaner on the other side. If you need more active filtration, you can force air through the filter. Attach it to a small battery-powered fan, rig up a hand crank fan system, even using a piece of cardboard as a manual fan to push air through the filter will work. The key is getting contaminated air to pass through your charcoal layer where the adsorption process can happen. Understand that this filter loses effectiveness over time. Activated charcoal has a finite capacity. Once those pores are full of trapped particles and chemicals, they can't trap anymore. Depending on how contaminated your air is and how much volume is passing through, you might need to replace the charcoal layer anywhere from every few days to every few weeks. You'll know it's time when odors start penetrating again or when airflow becomes noticeably restricted because the filter is clogged. Also, position matters. Keep your filter upright or at a slight angle. If you tip it too far, your layers can shift and create gaps where air bypasses the filtration media. And remember, this is for improving air quality in moderately contaminated environments. It is not going to save you from carbon monoxide, which is odorless, colorless, and will kill you regardless of filtration. If carbon monoxide is a concern, you need ventilation to the outside, not just filtration. Let's ground this in reality. When would you actually need this? Imagine you're sheltering in a basement during a wildfire. Smoke is infiltrating through cracks and ventilation. A DIY charcoal filter placed at your air intake point can significantly reduce smoke particles and make that space survivable for days or even weeks instead of hours. Or you're living out of a vehicle during a bug-out scenario. You're driving through areas with heavy dust, ash from fires, or industrial areas with chemical smells. Mount a filter to your vehicle's ventilation system or place one inside the cabin, and it actively cleans the air you're breathing during transit and while you're sleeping inside. Long-term grid-down situation, you're sealed in a shelter with limited ventilation. Sanitation is becoming difficult. Human waste, decaying organic matter, mold growth, and stagnant air are creating a toxic environment. A charcoal filter can neutralize many of those odors and remove airborne contaminants, making that space livable while you work on more permanent solutions. Urban survival during civil unrest or industrial accidents, chemical spills, tear gas residue, or building fires create localized air quality disasters. Having the knowledge and materials to quickly assemble a working air filter gives you the option to shelter in place safely, instead of being forced into potentially more dangerous situations outside. This is also valuable knowledge in a community survival context. Being the person who knows how to build working air filters makes you an asset. You're solving a problem others didn't even know had a solution. And unlike gear that can break or be stolen, this knowledge stays with you permanently. Let's be completely straight about what this can and cannot do. This is an emergency improvised solution. It is not a replacement for professional respiratory protection. It will not filter out biological agents like viruses or bacteria effectively. It will not protect you from radioactive particles. It will not stop military-grade chemical weapons or nerve agents. If you're in an environment that requires that level of protection, you need a real gas mask with appropriate filters. And you need to be moving toward safety, not relying on improvised equipment. What this filter will do is reduce smoke particles, neutralize organic odors, filter out many volatile organic compounds, and remove a significant percentage of common airborne chemicals and particulates. It makes a barely breathable space more livable. It buys you time. It reduces exposure to contaminants that would otherwise accumulate in your system and cause serious health problems. You also need to understand that filtration is only part of the equation. You still need ventilation. You still need to address contamination sources if possible. And you still need to monitor yourself and anyone else in your space for signs of exposure, like dizziness, nausea, difficulty breathing, or confusion. If symptoms appear even with filtration in place, it means your environment is still too contaminated and you need to take additional action immediately. Here's what this skill really represents. It's not just about building a filter, it's about mindset. It's about understanding that survival isn't about having the perfect gear or the biggest budget. It's about knowledge. It's about looking at common materials and seeing solutions instead of junk. When systems fail, when supply chains collapse, when you're cut off from outside resources, the survivors aren't the ones with the most expensive equipment. They're the ones who understand principles. They know how things work, they can adapt and improvise. They can take a plastic bottle, some fabric, and burnt wood, and turn it into a life-saving tool. This is what separates people who prepare from people who survive. Preparation is buying gear. Survival is knowing what to do when that gear runs out, breaks, or was never available in the first place. The best approach is both. Have supplies, but also have skills. Have equipment, but also have knowledge. Because equipment fails and supplies run out, but knowledge is permanent. Take this lesson and expand on it. Experiment with different container sizes and materials. Test your filters in controlled, safe environments, so you know exactly how well they work before you're depending on them in a real emergency. Build several and keep them in different locations. Teach this skill to family members or your mutual aid group. The more people who know how to solve this problem, the more resilient your entire network becomes. Clean air is survival. It's that fundamental. You can have a year's worth of food stored. You can have multiple water sources. You can have every piece of tactical gear ever made. But if you can't breathe clean air, none of it matters. A DIY charcoal filter is simple, it's effective, and it's something you can build with materials you probably have within arm's reach right now. The time to learn this is now. While you're calm and have the luxury of practice, build one today. See how it works. Understand the principles behind it. Add this to your mental library of survival skills, because when you actually need it, You won't have time to research. You won't have time to experiment. You'll need to build it from memory and deploy it immediately. If this video added real value to your preparedness, hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already, because every video on this channel is designed to give you practical, field-tested survival knowledge that works in the real world. No fluff, no theories that fall apart under pressure. Just skills that save lives. Stay prepared, stay informed, and remember, survival isn't about luck or hope. It's about knowledge, capability, and the will to adapt no matter what comes your way. I'll see you in the next one. Stay sharp.